This new Switch Pro controller is taking the internet by storm. Woo, doggies! We're back for another news roundup. Here we go. Let's get our lasso. Catch those rumors. I am so excited to share some incredibly beautiful things with you this video. I know that sounds like weird to say, but there are some pieces of art we've got to show you guys. An incredible Ocarina of Time, like 2.0 kind of remaster, this incredible new Switch Pro controller. We have also finally gotten an eShop update, and I feel like we may be going in the right direction. I don't know, maybe they're listening to us. And more, let's get into it. Bowser has to pay Nintendo $10 million. Dun, dun, dun. And before you think, not that Bowser, and also not that Bowser, different Bowser. To be honest, part of me is just excited that there's like a real life villain named Bowser that Nintendo is currently up against right now. I've covered the beginning of this story before on the channel, but if you don't remember, a slight recap for you. So, long story short, Mr. Bowser was selling devices to circumvent the Switch's security measures so that he was able to sell pirated games and devices with pirated games, and he got caught, and it is not looking good for him. And while he was not alone, it seems like he is alone in this $10 million settlement. You may have even heard of this company before. It was called Team Xecuter. If you ever had any experience with them, I did not, because I'm a good girl and I don't buy pirated games. I only pirate movies. Just kidding. Government, that was a joke. As of right now, this $10 million settlement has still not officially been signed by the judge of the case, so it is not technically official, but both Bowser and Nintendo have agreed to it, so it seems like it's going to get done. So basically the whole point of the settlement is to prevent this case from going further into court, and the terms of it, to me at least, are quite interesting. This settlement would require Bowser to turn any online registries or domain names associated with Team Xecuter. It also prohibits him from ever directly or indirectly infringing on Nintendo's copyrights and other intellectual property, including even emulating the company's games. Which I feel like even was used there, but yes, of course this guy should be banned from emulating their games. He was already selling pirated versions of them. I don't think that's too much to ask. I'm really surprised it's only like the illegal Nintendo stuff that he's required to stay away from. Like, I guess he's still allowed to do the legal Nintendo stuff. I don't know, I feel like if I was Nintendo, I'd be like, don't talk to me or my son ever again. We don't want to ever hear our names in your mouth, ever. But I guess it's probably good that I am not in charge of Nintendo. If you like to jive, be sure to subscribe. Jazz hands. I think I don't know what jive means. Something has really piqued my interest that's got me a little bit excited, and hopefully it'll get you a little bit excited too. I feel like Nintendo's been putting a little extra advertisement money behind the fact that they're selling the Switch OLED docks separately. But it seemed like the general public wasn't super aware, and I feel like this last week I've been seeing a lot of articles push out being like, by the way, the Switch OLED dock's for sale, and I'm like, what does Nintendo have going on? So if you don't know that they've already been selling these docks, surprise! For about $70, the Nintendo Switch OLED dock can be all yours in either black or white. And that $70 does not include the charging cable or the HDMI cord. Like, that is just the dock, which to me is suspicious. Like, nobody's paying $70 for a built-in LAN port, okay? That's really got me thinking that there's another reason why Nintendo wants you to spend $70 just on this dock. Now, previously we addressed that somebody had actually gone into the device and found out that basically there was a way in the Switch OLED dock for 4K gameplay to essentially be turned on, kind of like how we were able to get a Bluetooth update where just like all of a sudden we had Bluetooth, this thing we'd been waiting on forever. And that honestly is the only thing that makes sense to me for why they would sell this for a whole separate $70 if it means that sometime soon we're getting an update of 4K gameplay on the docks. I mean, why would you even bother spending money to back that up, right? It's like, I doubt Nintendo is thinking a ton of people are just going to buy that dock again for what, the built-in LAN port? There has to be a better reason, especially if a company is spending marketing dollars to get people to look at this thing. Come on. But I think too, things are already so out of stock, like there's no reason to start a panic right away, you know? Get them into some people's homes so at least some people will be happy and enjoy them before we go flipping the crazy switch. There's a new Nintendo eShop update! Guys, do we think they're watching this show? Nintendo? Hello? Are you here? I recently did like a whole thing about why Nintendo eShop should update their store, and I mean, I'm not saying that I did it single-handedly, but the evidence is there. Nintendo, if you're here, the next thing I want for the eShop is songs. I need an eShop song. Song. We'll work on the chant, we'll workshop the chant, but we want the song. What do we want? eShop song. When do we want it? Now. That's better, you know, see, we're getting there. So if you haven't noticed already, Nintendo has added a most played section to their eShop, which is used basically to highlight the games that like have the most play times. Although currently, there are some weird ones showing up right now. I think because it's just like new. One of them is the AAA clock app, which is like, why? There's also some regular games on there like Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, which makes sense. You've also got Football Manager 2022 Touch and Shinigami Tensei 5, which again, surprising no one. But the fact that this clock app is so high, like it's really got me reevaluating my life. Do I need this AAA clock app? Like, what does everybody know that I don't? If you're wondering how to find this feature, it's under the featured and discovered parts of the eShop. And the exciting thing is that it's keeping track of the most played games of the last 2 weeks, which is exciting because I feel like there's gonna be an influx of new games to discover. And I also feel like it's gonna be really great for just like starting conversations because you can kind of see like what everyone else is playing and what like the conversation piece of the next 2 weeks is gonna be. This Panda GameCube controller just raised over $1.4 million. That much in less than 3 weeks, which is insane. Even more so, their original goal was only $100,000. How do you go from a $100,000 goal to $1.4 million and like over 1.42? I could easily round that up to 1.5, and by the time this video comes out, we might even be over $1.5 million. And I mean, after looking at it, I don't know if I'm really that surprised. Like, look at this thing. It is so sleek and cool. This controller was designed by Panda Hardware, and it's basically their dream of a modernized GameCube controller. And I feel like they did an incredible job, at least from the specs. I mean, I guess we haven't seen any physical ones yet, but it looks really good. They boast that these controllers are infinitely customizable and they can be used on a ton of devices. You can use it on the Switch OLED included, of course, GameCube, PC, Wii, and even Wii U, which is like, what? They're expected to start shipping around December 2022. And if you don't want to miss the train, the lowest tier that you can contribute is $90, which again is like expensive for a Pro controller. But if you're a huge fan of the GameCube controller, obviously enough people have made it worth their while, so it's definitely something to think about. And honestly, I love their Kickstarter page. There's so much personality on here and it's just a lot of fun. Like, I was just reading through the entire page, having a great time. They hit a ton of stretch goals already, so if you do join in, you're getting a pretty sweet deal, as well as the fact that they also have stretch goals all the way to $2 million. And like I said, they're really close to hitting 1.5 right now, and there is a stretch goal for that. So if you want to get in before they hit that 1.5 stretch goal, now's the time. Although, again, they might already hit it before this comes out because they are moving so quickly. One of my favorite jokes is that they've got a gold-plated controller, and then the one underneath that is gold-plated controller, but more expensive. And there is absolutely no difference. It's just more expensive. And people have backed that. Like, so many people have backed that it's completely closed. Like, all of their high tier categories are pretty much all closed. They also have a rose gold controller, and in the description it says, just the shell is plated with actual rose gold, nothing else. So it's theoretically a functioning controller, just not a comfortable functioning controller. I love it. I wish I had a project that I could do this with. This would be so fun. Anyway, I'm loving it. If you guys do end up backing this, let me know. Speaking of incredible things, this fan-made Ocarina of Time build in Unreal 5 is unreal. It is gorgeous. Like, the entire video is 10 minutes and I just watched it with like my jaw on the floor. Like, you guys just have to look at a clip of this. Like, look at this. Yeah, are your brains exploded? Cause same. It's so pretty, like I wanna live there. Like, even though I know the bad things that happen in the game, I'm like, I wanna live here. This is created by, and apologies if I say this wrong, Ronling. And unfortunately, it looks like he may never actually make this playable to the public, but I want to play it so badly. I wanted like the entire video, I was like, I just want Link to like switch his sword around so bad. We need this. We need a full Ocarina of Time remake that looks exactly like this, maybe in 4K. I don't know if that's asking too many things from Nintendo, but I need it, okay? I need it. I cannot go back to normal life after seeing this. I just can't. This is not the first time either that we've seen a beautiful remake of the Kokiri Forest, and I'm just like, Nintendo, please take the hint. It's time to address the question that it's been on everybody's mind, and that is, are all of these Switch copycats gonna have Nintendo in real trouble? Is Nintendo going to be losing their edge? Are Nintendo's exclusives going to be enough to win a next-gen war? I feel like yes. And here's why. Nintendo was the first creator of an actual functioning Switch-like model where you could play both handheld and on the TV. PlayStation got a little bit close with the Vita and the PSP, but they didn't quite pass that finish line the way the Switch did. While the Steam Deck does seem really impressive, I think there's some ways that it just can't compete with Nintendo. The main one being that the Steam Deck does not have any exclusive games. Everything that you can access on Steam Deck, you could already access on your PC. Not only that, but the fact that purchases have been so limited and it's already been pushed back from its original date to 2022 is not looking great for fans who have been vying to get their hands on this device. Plus, I think there is a real struggle in the fact that a lot of PC gamers have like their gaming setups, they've got very comfortable chairs, they've kind of got everything set up for them to play at their desk and be really comfortable. I think it's going to be a little bit of a shift for them to now be able to play anywhere they want. Granted, an exciting shift, but it might not have the same comforts as playing at their desk originally had. And while you may think lack of exclusives, that doesn't actually seem like something that matters anymore, it has been a really big deal when it comes to terms for the PlayStation, the Xbox, and Nintendo. And while bridges are starting to be crossed, where eventually we're starting to see those exclusives bleed over onto the Nintendo side, they still seem pretty tightly grasped at certain games. But there are really 3 things that I think Nintendo does better than anybody else that gives Nintendo kind of a safe space, if you will. And that is affordability. In the grand scheme of things, Nintendo is typically on the more affordable side of the big gaming companies, if you will. Also, availability. Even though there are shortages, it's still been a lot easier for a majority of the year to get a Switch than it has to get a PlayStation, than it even has been to get a Steam Deck or any of these other iterations that are trying to copycat, if you will. The Switch is still the most available and in some cases, most affordable. And the biggest one of all, which I think is just ease of use. All these new devices are not going to have the ease of use that Nintendo devices have. Pretty much anybody can pick up a Nintendo controller and kind of figure it out pretty quickly. And while all these new devices boast like customization and all these crazy things, it is a lot more difficult to learn them right off the bat than it is with the Switch device. That being said, only time will tell, but I'm excited to see what happens.